morning, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakely will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for our next PSGL race, and we are ready to get ourselves going. We're going hot for the Austrian Grand Prix after missing it last time out. My name is Joseph Black. I'll be taking you through all of the action. I'm not going to be alone here tonight, but it won't be Myth alongside me. Instead, I'm going to be joined by the wonderful Patrick Coleman. Welcome in for, I believe, your first at least F3 race. How are we feeling ahead of the weekend?
I mean, thank you, Joseph. It's been a fun time here the last couple of weeks. I did F4 for the first time last week, and I've been in F5 for a little bit for the first couple of rounds. I mean, we've had some spectacular races all the way around, and we are at probably, even though I am a Florida man, Miami is my home track, I will always die on the hill that Miami is my favorite track. But when it comes to just a raw action and just absolute battling that we see, I mean, you can't beat Austria. Austria is one of those tracks. It rewards aggression, and I am so glad to be here tonight. Looking forward to this one.
Oh, it does reward aggression. I think you're absolutely right on that front. I think it really gives the drivers a chance to see where they can find opportunities, and we're going to see them out there on the circuit in just a couple of moments' time around what is the shortest lap time on the Formula 1 calendar, and therefore on the PSGL calendar as well. We're going to be seeing lap times just above a minute. If you are in a custom car, which of course we're not in tonight, you can get all the way down to about a minute out there on the circuit. Some drivers have even been able to take it under a minute in the past. So we're ready to go racing. We're ready to get this qualifying session underway, and well, it should be good fun. We've got 20 drivers out there at the moment. I think we're only expecting 21, potentially, maybe 22 later on in the day if a couple of the late-on invites have been accepted. But we do have, at the moment, a solo Williams out there on the circuit. And I'm just having a look to see who the other solo driver is who will not be joined by a teammate here today. I think it may well be the Haas we're watching on with Wojtek Steg right now, 6th place, but 7th Victor Garcia is coming around the final corner. And Patrick, could you take us through a lap of the Austrian Grand Prix?
Alright, so now we are riding on board with one Victor Garcia as he's making his way into this turn 1, and then making his way to this corner that's fairly even corner, but he's already invalidated, so that whole lap is already going to be thrown out of the window. So he will take this as a secondary hot lap here. Now jumping on board with the Red Bull. He's going to go ahead and make his way through turn 2. A really very slight corner that barely even qualifies as a corner. Now he's going to make his way through turn 3. And turn 3 is such a good overtaking spot. And we'll probably see quite a few moves throughout today in that spot. Now coming down into turn 4. And now coming up to the sector that I like to call the Red Bull can tab. Because if you look at it, it looks like the tab of a Red Bull can, and we're at the Red Bull ring. Now making his way through turns 6 and 7. And he is going to go ahead and try to get as close as he can. It's so easy to carry too much momentum into that corner and lose that lap time due to invalidations. Now through 9 and 10, he's making his way on through. Gonna get cut as tight as he can, gets really close to the track limits, and that is gonna be a lap time of a 1:03.696 provisional pole time set by the Red Bull.
Yeah, very good lap indeed, thrown in very early on in this race session. We're going to see what the other drivers are able to do. Takubi's going to invalidate on the final couple of corners, so he will not be setting a time at the moment, and so he'll be coming back into the pit lane hoping to try again. It's not going to be Giovanni Kennis, it's going to be Valentino Labella in the solo Williams here tonight, who comes around the final corner and will set the next lap time, but it won't be a lap time of any quality at all, because of course that is going to be a backed out of lap. A lot of drivers invalidating, another one being Daniel Koya, as well, we're going to see Lawrence Lowers, I believe that was, jumping up to third place, and well, no, Ratzer in 6th at the moment. It's only the Audis at the moment who've been able to complete a full team lineup out there, although the Alpines may well get close. Ivan Skrig at the moment on the front row, and Giovanni Kennis hoping to join him as he comes around the final couple of corners. Where is he going to put his car? It's not going to be anywhere near close to the top drivers in the top times. Excuse me, I can't speak today. Around the final couple of corners is going to come as well the Cadillac of Claudio Diaz, who's just come to the line, and actually he's not in a Cadillac at all. So who am I looking for in terms of being in that Cadillac? I'm looking for Diego Ferrer, who's come up to the line, but he has invalidated on that lap as Rafael Kunch right behind him. A sumptuous bit of slipstream from the Cadillac sees the McLaren up to the top.
And I mean, it's already a very tight qualifying gap here, Joseph, as currently it is our top 4 within a 1/10 of a second of each other. And even then, if you look at our top 8, they are encompassed by a 1/4 of a second, which just shows how strong that these drivers are at qualifying. I mean, this is a track that you pretty much need to have in your sim racing wheelhouse, whether you're doing F1, Endurance, Multiclass, GT, MotoGP, you name it. You really do need to have this track in your wheelhouse. Giovanni Kennis up to the top now with a time of a 1:03.527. Claudio Diaz going to go ahead and jump up into 2nd position, just behind him, just under a 1/10 of a second. We're seeing some extremely good lap times here. I'm looking at Lucas Biesner as he is going to go ahead and try to make his way through. He's coming towards the can tab now in that Visa Cash App Racing Bulls machine, making his way through the first half and the second half of the can tab, as he will push his way now down towards the penultimate straight mode zone, burning a good amount of battery here. This track isn't super egregious when it comes to battery management like Spa and Jeddah, but it's not a particularly easy track either. He comes across the line. He will prove up into 2nd place by he's only shy of less than a 1/2 of that. You can't park there, sir.
Certainly can't. We lost you for a decent amount of time there, but we got enough to see what was going on and to hear what was going on as well, of course, with Takubi right at the very end of that session. I have disconnected from it for annoyingly another time. I think I've disconnected from about 4 or 5 sessions so far in various different seasons since F1 26 got underway, so that may well be an internet issue on my end. But we are going to be able to cut to our end, and we're able to cut to our faces as we get ourselves ready to get underway for what should be a very good race indeed. I'm going to try to get back into the session so we can watch on with all of the drivers and watch on with us too as we take you to green flag racing. Of course, as I say, 20 drivers out there on the circuit, and I think Austria is going to be a one-stop where a lot of the drivers are going to be having a look at those medium compound tyres and those hards as well, and that's really going to be the only opportunity they're going to want to take out there on the circuit, isn't it?
A 2-stop is viable, but I mean, if you're going to go for a 2-stop, you have to be extremely aggressive on the tires. Not the highest tire degradation circuit on the calendar. I mean, Barcelona exists, and that track is absolutely lethal when it comes to tires. But with that all being said, the 1-stop is going to be the ideal strategy, although it may require a little bit of tire management. And I'm a strategy nerd. I love strategy. It's really the spice of life. It's why I never really liked doing the 5-lap races that I know some people do like, and to each their own. But I mean, when you really just get into the nitty-gritty of strategy, I think strategy could really play out. But we also got to think, I mean, anything could happen here in racing, especially in such a competitive field like we see here at, well, any tier of PSGL really.
Absolutely, and we will get to see the PSGL grid once again as they take to the circuit and they continue their way through. I have gotten back into the session. It did throw me off briefly that I had disconnected, but just having a look to see if there's any drivers currently on push laps. Is Rafael Kunch going for one? He certainly did at the first time of asking. He was able to send himself up to the top. He's about a 10th off the back right now of Jovano Kennis. He's not too far off the back of Cloud and Wojtek Steg as well. And well, at the moment he's going to be trying to find that extra 10th to challenge with the two Venturi drivers at the very top of this field. Cloud and Wojtek Steg actually have exactly the same lap times, which is something that you rarely ever see. Wojtek Steg will be behind because Cloud set that lap time first. Oliver Knott is only going to be 100 ahead of them, and around the final few corners, Rafael Kunch is going to come. He's going to get the opportunity to challenge for the top. He's 9 thousandths down his previous lap time, so if there's anything he can do in this final sector, he will. Just leave it all out there on the circuit with 8 minutes and 50 seconds left to go. An improvement from Rafael Kunch up into 7th place, which I don't think is an improvement into position. I don't think it, in fact, is not, but it's going to get him closer to Cloud and Wojtek Steg.
Diego Ferrer in the Cadillac just moved up just right by his teammate. Not quite a representative lap, but out of all the drivers that do have representative laps, I mean, pretty much everybody within the top 17 is encompassed by barely half a second. So, I mean, that is a very competitive field. Our top 4, once again, separated by less than a 10th here. The two Venturi drivers, currently P1 and 2 at the moment. Jovano Kennis is going to go ahead and give it another go. We'll see what he can do. He's going to go ahead and use that boost mode. Coming down the straight, coming through turn 2. The very slight turn. As he is now going to go ahead and go good on the brakes, using a good amount of the curbing. Very nice on the entry of turn 3. Now he's going to go ahead and burn it down again. And he is just going to go ahead and get really close to the grass there. And he's going to go ahead and just go good on the brakes now, coming through turn 4. We'll see where the improvement lies at the end of this first sector. Or excuse me, the second sector. As he's making his way through Cantab now. He's not improving, but he's not too far off. Only 19 milliseconds away from an improvement. We'll see if Jovano Kennis can really make some magic here in the Alpine. He's running low on battery, but he's got the last 2 quarters. It's so easy to validate, especially through turn 10. He'll burn it to the line. He does improve by over a 10th. It'll be a 103.401 for Jovano Kennis in the Alpine.
It will indeed, and that will be the lap time that really increases his opportunity to run away with it at the top of the field. Oliver Knott was improving, but he's not anymore. He's invalidated on his lap time. I believe there was Victor Garcia improvement further down in the order. He's got himself up into the top 10. Cloud has improved in that first sector, so we'll stay on with that Mercedes as the Veloce Academy driver looks to improve upon his teammate's time. His teammate, in terms of his team outside of PSGL, of course, his teammate in this race is going to be Jeremy Galonier down in 17th place, but this is incredibly tight. 5 and just over half tenths of a second between first and last place Scott Holmes at the moment, and you feel as though this could topple at any available opportunity. What's Cloud done in the second sector? We will find out, and he is not improved. He's down on his time from the first sector. He's 1,000th up on his previous one, so he may well not be challenging for pole, but he's going to challenge for the top couple of rows of the grid, especially if he can find the time to catch up to Lucas Beisner. Out of the final corner, Cloud will come, and he's going to get a 103.587 up into 3rd place.
Very competitive lap time here, and this just shows you how tight this field is. If you improve by a 10th of a second, then you could easily jump 2 or 3 spots. Now, in the past, I've covered races where you can improve by about 4 tenths and not even gain a singular spot. But here, it's so tightly packed that, I mean, 1/10 can jump you up as much as even 4 or 5 positions. I mean, especially if you're within that range just right outside of the top 10. We can really see some magic happening here. Few drivers not quite improving as they will just continue to just try to get the best lap time that they can. And I think even when we do get this race underway here, Joseph, I've been seeing a handful of invalidations from a lot of these drivers, and this track is known, especially in the real world as well, for being track limit central. So I think that's going to be a real make or break factor here this evening.
Oh, it absolutely will. These drivers are going to have to make sure they stay within the lines, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing at least 10, 15 penalties, something along those lines, as these drivers compete it out and these drivers push themselves to the very limit and push each other to the very limit of what the machinery and what the cars are possible. So we will see what they do. Of course, this is F2, so or F3 even, so not quite the very peak, but not too far off it as well. Because as you go up the racing divisions, you're absolutely right. The gap between the drivers decreases and decreases and decreases to the point where I think a lot of these drivers on their day could challenge with those in PC F1 and have done in the past. So this will be a really good test of their resolve and ability, and I think that's what it's all about for these drivers at the moment. It's all about gaining that experience of learning how to race with other people and learning how to race on various different circuits. Yes, you'll still have your favourites and your least favourites, but there'll be some circuits where just picking up that ability to come in maybe the top 5 or so is going to be very, very crucial. Valentino Labella will be coming into the pit lane and everybody else will be coming out. So he's slightly off kilter from the rest of the grid, but I'm sure that will be sorted out as they head down towards what will be their final runs in a few moments' time.
I mean, sometimes even just being on an off-kilter strategy can sometimes help you out a bit. I mean, usually you do want to be on that same qualifying strat as at least a majority of the field. I mean, you'll always have some of those drivers that will take that plan B, but I mean, I've seen even the most, what we would consider at the time to be a bit crazy on the strategy front when it comes to qualifying and even the race itself. Sometimes those strategies that everybody kind of doubts end up actually working pretty well. So Valentino Labella, I think, even though, yes, they are off kilter compared to a lot of the drivers that are currently out on laps here, I think, though, that could really might actually play in his favor. It's a double-edged sword, because you can also run into a lot of that traffic, a lot of that slow-moving traffic that has just potentially finished the lap, or someone who also started late might be on their out laps when you're on your main push lap. So, I mean, it's always going to be a gamble, right? Always going to be a bit of a lottery when you try to go off strategy. But, I mean, hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Absolutely you do, and well, we'll see what these drivers can do late on in this session. And as you say, they miss 100% of the shots they don't take, and at the moment they're going to be taking some shots. A lot of these drivers will be just backing out, getting themselves ready to go for final push laps. The likes of Rafael Kunch is going to be going for his final push lap right now, and he's just headed through the first couple of corners. Well, in fact, the first corner on the racetrack. Turn 2 is going to be completely flat out, so for the McLaren, it's kind of going to be something that he basically ignores the improved by 0.05 of a second down towards turn 3. There's a Haas going very, very wide in the foreground, but in the background, Rafael Kunch has found that slight improvement, and that Haas is lagging all over the road. At least we know which one it is. It's going to be Victor Garcia down in 11th place at the moment that may well struggle to find an improvement if he keeps lagging like that. Kunch now heading through turn number 4. That's the prime overtaking opportunity, I would say. I'd say they'd set it up into turn 3. If they're gutsy, they'll make a move through there. However, I think that a few of the drivers, especially later on into the race, will feel that the stakes are too high. 0.07 of a second improved by Rafael Kunch after the first 2 sectors, and that's a little bit down on what he did in sector 1, but what can he do in sector 3? It's all up in the air for the McLaren, who was pole sitter after the first runs. Where is he going to be able to throw that McLaren as he flies through the final corner? It's a 1:03.593. That's up to 5th place.
Just under 2 tenths away from, well, now it's over 2.5 tenths away. It's Giovanni Kennis. You blink and you miss it. He is up into provisional pole now with about 47 seconds left on the clock. Gonna be a lot of drivers trying to get those final runs in and trying to just maximize their quality. As the next car to come through is gonna be the V car. He makes his way through. Now it's the turn of the Mercedes. This is gonna be Jeremy Galliner, as he is gonna go ahead and come across the line. He will actually just begin another lap. So cutting it very, very close now. And we'll see where these drivers go ahead and try to find any sort of improvement now. On board with the Aston Martin as he will come across the line. Claudio Diaz, not an improvement there, as he will continue to make his way on through. Everybody really just trying to maximize it here. They've done the double out lap and they are giving it a go. Qualifying is done and dusted. The McLaren of Rafael Kunch is going to come across the line. No improvement there from the Papaya Machine. Anybody else? Is anybody else going to be able to upset Giovanni Canis?
Well, we will wait and see. Oliver Knott up to the line, and he's going to go up to the front row of the field. That's a really, really big lap time in terms of the context of this race. The next few drivers to come to the line, well, we did see Daniel Coyer invalidate. Vector Garcia not improved, nor is Dennis Langrock, nor is Giovanni Kennis. Escrigue not improved. Coyer and Takubi, both outside of the top 10, as is Escrigue. Whereas Valentino Libella, he's invalidated. Bison is around the final corner with a suboptimal lap time. Cloud up to the line is not going to improve. So I think this is going to be a bit of a damp squib in terms of the end of qualifying, as nobody seems to be improving. Max van der Geest is going to try to change that momentum. He's going to try to be one of those drivers who is going to find that time. Into the pits for Diaz. Around the final corner goes one of the white cars. I think that might be Scott Holmes to try to improve, but he did invalidate and so will not be improving. This has been a really disappointing final run for a lot of drivers, all of which are diving into the pit lane now. The only driver on a valid lap is Lawrence Lowers. He's 4 tenths down, so will not be improving. Giovanni Kennis will take pole.
A very good pole position there from the Alpine, just over a 10.5 clear of the Veloce Academy driver of Oliver Knott. And I mean, it's not bad for Oliver, but I know he would have loved to grab pole position for the Veloce Academy. I actually used to be a moderator with Veloce in days bygone, but it's good to see that you do see these Academy drivers coming in, and honestly, they do really, really well. So we have a few Veloce Academy drivers, Cloud and Oliver in the Mercedes and Ferrari respectively, currently 6th and 2nd. So we're seeing some pretty good lap times here, but as we know, Joseph, the big lap times and the big points, those are going to be in the Grand Prix itself.
They absolutely will at the moment. It'll be Giovanni Kennis on pole position with Oliver Knott alongside him on the front row. Valentino Libella will take 3rd place in the Williams and Lucas Bison 4th in the B-Carb. 5th place for the Audi driver of Dennis Langrock, who is, of course, representing his home nation in that car, and Cloud will be 6th place. Rafael Kunchin 7th, and then Victor Garcia, Claudio Diaz, and Wojtek Steg will round out the top 10. Max van der Geest in 11th, with Jeremy Gallonier in 12th. Ivan Escrigue in 13th, with Lawrence Lowers 14th. Daniel Coyer will be 15th, and then to round out the grid, it will be Redmers, Noah Ratzer, Diego Ferrer, Takubi, and Scott Holmes, who I think will be a little bit disappointed with that lap time. He'll try to make it up in the race. But that's going to be your grid for the next round of the season. And well, we had a round cancelled last week, didn't we, at the Madrid for attendance, and so the drivers will be more likely to be desperate to go racing.
Oh yeah, and I mean, especially because this is a track where overtaking it's pretty popular. You can really overtake on this track quite a bit. It's not like Madrid, where I actually covered F4 for the Madrid track, and honestly it was quite a blast. Unfortunately, I didn't get to hear any of the drivers' opinions on it, but I know the Madrid circuit is a bit of a uneasy one for a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers really don't like it that much. Austria is a much different ballpark. It's a much more traditional style circuit. A lot of people do like this track, and you're talking about Scott Holmes earlier, who really just didn't have the best of qualifying. He's got a really good shot of making his way through the field because this track is very wide. You can really get some good overtakes on this track.
You really, really can indeed. It's going to be a great opportunity for these drivers to go fighting out there on the road. And we're going to have a look at the wonderful, adoring fans on the side of the track as we get ready to get ourselves going. Top A is not going to be able to join us tonight, nor is Ryan Grob, so we are going to be having 20 drivers taking to the circuit, taking to the Austrian Grand Prix circuit in the Styrian Hills, which is one of the best circuits, in my opinion at least, on any racing calendar, just because it provides such an opportunity for racing in such a short span of time and such a short span of laps as well. As the crow flies, I think it's going to be 36 laps of racing that we're going to get out there, so one of the highest of the season, but there's a reason for that, and that reason is that it's going to be a very, very short lap indeed. As I say, just over a minute. Pole time was a 1:03, and pretty much everybody was actually in that 03. Actually, I believe that every single driver was in that range, so we'll see what they do. Drax as well will not be joining us, so it's unlikely to be unlikely to be joined. Anyway, the 5 red lights are coming on in front of the drivers. We've had a week off. We're ready to go racing here in Austria, and the action gets underway now. Giovanni Kennis gets a great start, so does Valentino Labella alongside him, and he's going to be trying to challenge into the first corner, looking to the inside of Not, but backs out, and that opens the door to Beisner to try to pull alongside. But once again, he's not had a great exit. Langrock tries to pull through, and Beisner is going to really struggle for that pace down towards turn number 4. He's been overtaken by Langrock. He may well try to fight back. They're 2 by 2 as Valentino Labella has a terrible turn 3, and he drops down all the way to 6th place. Langrock, Kunch and Beisner fighting their way through, and they're going to be alongside each other down towards turn 4. Inside line beckons for Kunch. Will he be able to squeeze through? Outside will look Beisner, and slightly further back, Garcia and Steg will be side by side with each other. In the end, Steg will get through on Garcia. The Haas driver will back out, and Max van der Geest is going to get through on Claudio Diaz as well, and up into the top 10 as Diaz tries to sweep around the outside. Max van der Geest might have come to contact with him as he drops down. Lawrence Lauwers facing backwards.
He got tipped around there, and there was actually a good amount of contact between Max van der Geest and it was going to be the V-Carb as well. So the V-Carb and the Aston Martin of Claudio Diaz really got into it a bit. So we did see a few end plates fly up, and that's going to be Tachubi's night done and dusted. I think that was the Papaya machine who did lose an end plate in that scuffle. Everybody really did kind of get backed up in that kind of stretch just before the 3rd sector from turn 6 all the way down to turn 8. A few of those drivers did get a little bit closer, a little squirrely, as we're just watching every battle just happening up here at the front. Oliver Knott trying to close in here, and he's going to continue to try to put pressure on the Giovanni Kennis, but Dennis Langrock not too far behind in the Audi, and it's going to be a bit of a dual threat if you're Oliver Knott. So, I mean, you really just got to be super just aware of everything that's going on. Dennis Langrock will try to come back, and it's going to be a good fight as Cloud is catching up to Valentino Labella in the Williams. And there is a temporary yellow flag. I think that was just for everybody kind of being bunched up on the exit of turn 10. So far, we've had a good amount of drama, but for the most part, we've stayed in one piece here tonight.
Yeah, we absolutely have, and I'd imagine the drivers are going to be hoping to stay in one piece for the remainder of it. I mean, of course they're going to, as Oliver Knott is going to get quite close to the back of Giovanni Kennis, will not make the move. Further back as well, there's going to be maybe a move for Cloud on the inside of Valentino Labella down towards turn 3, and he's going to be able to make that pass. And will Valentino Labella have anything to fight back with down towards turn 4? They head down the hill, and he will not quite be able to pull anywhere near close. Daniel Coyer as well, ready to challenge with Scott Holmes. Holmes ready to challenge with Victor Garcia. The driver from the back of the grid has had a good start here, has Scott Holmes. He's managed to jump his way up to what will be 15th place. His teammate now under pressure from Daniel Coyer. He actually made the move through initially on Coyer, but then did drop back. Giovanni Kennis leads by 0.5 of a second at the front of this pack, but it looks as though Langrock and Kunch are looking closer to Knott than Knott is to taking the lead.
Yeah, Nott's going to have to be driving on his mirrors, because right behind him you do have the Audi of Dennis Langrock, who is trying to find any sort of a gap to make the move. And I mean, sometimes you can make a good dive, but you also got to get a really good slipstream coming up the hill on your way down into turn 3, or up into turn 3, vertically speaking. As you do see, Rafael Kunch going to go try to make a move, and the Papaya machine does get into 3rd position, but can he hold it? It's going to be a drag race now coming down into turn 4. Rafael Kunz is going to go ahead and just try to fight side by side with Dennis Langrock and forcing him to the outside, and that is going to be the Papaya machine trying to hold on, but still inside becomes outside very quickly. Langrock right back on the inside, going to try to show the Papaya machine, try to encourage him to touch some grass a little bit so he can get back into this P3. And actually this brings Lucas Bisner back right into the mix as well. So it's a 3-way fight, a little bit of contact there as well, as they are side by side coming through turn 9, coming through turn 10. And Dennis Langrock will get back and hold that position. But as we know here, Joseph, that fight's going to be far from over, as Lucas Bisner is going to go ahead and make the move on to the McLaren, with Cloud also giving it a look.
Yeah, all of these drivers having a look at fighting at the moment, and at the moment it will be a good fight for the top 5. Rafael Kunc holding on to the position at the time being, as Wojtek Steg and Valentino Labella side by side just about in the background. This might be a move for Steg. If it doesn't work out, then Labella is looming and ready to make the move. It's not going to work out, and Labella's going to have that momentum out of turn 3, down towards turn number 4 in the next braking zone. Looking to the inside is going to be Ivan Skrig on Labella, which means that the Italian is going to back out of the move on Wojtek Steg, and they will still be alongside each other, but in the end, Ivan Skrig is going to back out. Fighting further back as Scott Holmes wants to pick up another position. He's through on Victor Garcia. Maybe he sticks on that inside line of him as they head through the final couple of corners on the racetrack, and still will keep that tyre in. He'll still be on the outside line, and he'll still be ready to go fighting, but no move just yet. Lap 5 of this race is about to turn into lap number 6, and everybody's on the medium compounded tyre apart from Claudio Diaz, Daniel Coyer and Lawrence Lowers, who are all on the set of the hards, and Coyer did drop back. Claudio Diaz is staying really where he started, so he'll have a massive benefit of that later on. Everybody else is looking on those mediums and looking for that slightly more flexible strategy.
Yeah, I mean, having flexibility can really work out in your favor. A few drivers have made up quite a few positions here, but Scott Holmes obviously being the biggest benefactor. He's up 6 positions from where he started. The Cadillac driver currently in 14th, as Dennis Langrog he's in the podium spots. He started 5th. Rafael Kuznic also going to go ahead and make his way up 2 spots as well. Started 7th, now 5th. So a lot of these drivers are really just giving it the old college try here, as Dennis Langrog is going to try to stay well within touching distance, but Lucas Bisner right behind in the V-Carb is really going to give it a go. Going to hope that being at the Red Bull Ring in a Red Bull sponsored car is going to give him the wings that he needs to fly into the podium spots here, as he is going to get a really good exit on the exit of turn 10. Giovanni Kennis still in the lead ahead of Oliver Knott and Dennis Langrog, your top 3 here in this one. Lucas Bisner, though, was thinking about a move coming into turn 1, but there's just no room at the end for him to get into P3, and he will continue to just use all of that pace and just try to find something here. I mean, it is still very early stages, and especially if you're trying to make the one stop, you don't want to burn out your tires too much, as Wojtek Steg is going to get ahead of Cloud. The Red Bull and the Mercedes are trading positions back and forth like it's 2021, and trying to go Cloud on the outside. He will be shown the door, as Wojtek Steg is still in 6th.
He is still in 6th place for the moment, as there's fighting further back. Noah Ratzer and Redmers going for it, and Redmers might lose another place to Scott Holmes, who made the most of the poor exit from the Aston Martin, and it did indeed jump on his way through and jump up to 13th place, as Noah Ratzer also made that move up in the Audi, not doing too badly. The highest driver of the new teams, if you ignore the one on the podium right now that might well challenge for 2nd place, heading down towards turn number 4, or turn number 3 even, may well be the first overtaking opportunity if he's able to get himself in a good position to do so. He's 2/10 back at the moment off of Oliver Knott, and I don't think it'll be a move that he'll be able to make this lap, but it's certainly one he'll be looking at in laps to come. 8 of 36, so we are just under a quarter of the way through this race, and Giovanni Kennis in a great position right now. Oliver Knott, a very, very good position as well, and Daniel Coyer and Victor Garcia side by side. Coyer does get that exit. Maybe this is a sign that the hards are starting to become beneficial.
Yeah, and I mean, there becomes that crossover point, right? And this is what I was saying earlier, that I think the 2-stop might be a bit of the more prevalent strategy for these medium runners, because the hard tires really do come into their own. Around that lap 8 to lap 10 range, they really just find their groove, and they really become the better tire at this stage. I mean, you can, in theory, you can take a lap or a set of mediums to probably around lap 15 if you're feeling really adventurous, but you're going to lose so much pace to either A, the drivers who are going to try to opt in for the 2-stop, or the drivers on the hards, because you can easily take those hards, probably close to about 20 laps, give or take. You can really make those hards go a while. It will take some management to get there, but as we're seeing a few positions being swapped around here, Lucas Bisner, a driver that's really just been on the ball and just knocking on this door, the podium spots. He's been giving it the old college try, side by side for Wojtek Steg and Rafael Kunc as they're making their way through. the McLaren and the Red Bull battling it out side by side. The McLaren will have the edge. He will have the inside line coming through the can tab now. And this one is going to be a very tricky one. Seechuk Stag really just doesn't quite have the pace to keep up with Raphael in the McLaren. But it's still very early stages. As it looks like we might have a pit stop here. Yes, so this is going to be Eva Iskrig coming into the pits on lap 10 here in the Alpine. So either A, he's going to try to take those hards a real long way, or B, this is the first of the two stoppers. Max Vanderbeest also in the pits.
Yeah, I think there is going to be a few drivers gambling onto that two-stop and giving it a go. As you said at the top of the broadcast, that was something that they did have the option of exercising, and I think some drivers are going to go for it while some drivers are going to keep their options open, and I think that's what a lot of the medium runners have done. They've kind of not committed to any sort of strategy, knowing that later on in the race is when they're really going to be... They're going to need to be doing that as the Red Bull is around at the Red Bull ring. Too many wings for Daniel Coyer. He's tried to fly his way to Germany.
Yeah, I mean, he got spun around so hard that he flew himself to the Hockenheim ring and back. Unfortunate there for Daniel. I don't know if he got tipped by the Ferrari because Lawrence Lawyer was right there. I don't know if there's contact. It is easy. And, I mean, we're actually seeing that Daniel Kuehler is going to just fight that Red Bull tooth and nail. He must have gotten the Red Bull second seat curse because that's the main thing I can imagine right now because he is trying to wrangle that bull in. And it's just from the rear instability of that car. It is very easy to overcook it in some of these really sharp corners, particularly turn 3. But still, it doesn't make it any less unfortunate.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't at all in any way, shape or form. And of course, the stewards will be taking a look at all of the incidents later on that are reported. If that one is indeed reported, they'll get everything sorted out and they'll be able to get their final results in for these drivers. And you can always check these results out if you go to the PSGL website, which is now up and running and going again. So you'll be able to see the final results for each of these drivers. And you can also keep in touch with us on all of our social medias. The main one that we're active on is going to be Twitter, or X now as it would be for some people. It isn't for me because I still haven't gotten used to the change, but you can check us out on there. All of the links, all of the relevant links at least are in the description of this video, and so you can go and engage with us and watch on as we will now have definitely PSGL F1 action on our screens very, very soon. We did the grid last night. We did the grid reveal at least last night, so it should be very good fun this upcoming season. And yeah, there's going to be plenty of action in what would be the F1 esports off season. So those drivers will be competing it out. These drivers will be hoping to get the chance to compete with those drivers at some point in the season, and I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these drivers may be more likely to be the F2 drivers, but the F3 drivers sometimes do get that opportunity to race against some of them, and I know we've seen Dennis Langrock hold a candle to them in the past. How do I know that? Well, I used to be his engineer, and I watched that video that he posted about racing with those top drivers. So it is a really good learning experience and a really good learning curve for them that will push them on to get to higher heights. This is a very, very good league indeed, because we know that all of these drivers are going to be very well matched out there on the circuit, and they are going to be out there on the circuits just ready to duke it out and fight for every single position out there, and we will see where they end up in their careers and also in their race as well, because don't forget we do have this race going on right now. It's going to be the next round of the season here in Austria. We've got round number 5 for us in this campaign, and it's really interesting in fact to see that we do have that round number 5, because we didn't have the last round of the season at the Madrid.
Which I still think is really unfortunate, because the Madrid is actually a pretty fun track to commentate. I don't know if you've commentated it in the past, Joseph, but I got to do it for F4 last weekend. It was such a fun race to watch. Definitely would recommend checking it out, as we're going to check out a battle here. This one is for 6th and 7th. Say about that as you will, but Claudio Diaz and Seechuk Stag, we're going to battle out. Cloud right there in the mix as well. So a lot of drivers really trying to fight, but a bit further forward, Lucas Bisner is still right on the gearbox of Dennis Langrock. He is trying everything here. I mean, but if you try too much, you are going to burn out those tires pretty early on, and you will be forced into the two-stop, which, hey, if you got the pace to make the two-stop work, then by all means go for it. as Wojciech Stag is going to go ahead and make his way into the pits. We'll see what tire he switches it to in the Red Bull. And it looks like they got a set of hards available for the Red Bull. He'll come back out onto circuit. Now, another strategy that I didn't think about till just now, you might be able to even run a two-stopper with 2 sets of hards. That might be another option as well. It will give you a bit more flexibility when it comes to just the tires. I know we talked about that earlier on. Scott Holmes, on the other hand, I know there's a few drivers at pit. He's looking to make a move on to Jeremy Gallagher. And he is up in the 8th position. A very good lunge from the Cadillac, who just made his way up into 8th. And we were saying that maybe potentially coming into turn 4, we might see some good news. But right on the entrance of the CAN tab, I mean, that was a very optimistic move from Scott Holmes. And hey, being the kind of guy with a glass half full really worked out for him there. As what has happened here, I think Van der Geest has had a moment.
Yeah, Max van der Geest having a bit of an issue on those 4-lap old medium compounder tyres. He's at the back of the field as Rafael Kunch and Cloud are going to come into the pit lane, and Lawrence Lowers is going to get through on Victor Garcia, who's also in that pit lane. So lots of these drivers changing their strategies up, and we'll see where they are going to end up racing for the remainder of the Austrian Grand Prix, and where they will end up at the end of what is likely to be, at this point, as you've mentioned, it's likely to be a two-stop strategy, with those drivers coming into the pit lane now and making that switch. There's no doubt, though, that they are able to make that strategy work if they are going over to those hard compound tyres about now, because they can do 21 laps. As it's going to get very close between the two former teammates, Dennis Langrock and Lucas Beisner, side by side, and the inside line is going to open up for the VNT driver as he makes his way through on his former Thomas Engersim Racing teammate Claudio Diaz with a late lunge as well, and he's going to be able to give himself a real good opportunity and a real tight squeeze to try to jump up that position. Diaz has done so in the end and shows that those tyres are going to have a little bit more grip, and the Aston Martin, with really, really good racing presence, is going to jump up onto the podium.
Yeah, as a lot of other drivers make their way now into the pits. Quite a few of those medium runners into the pits now to go ahead and swap out those tires. Dennis Langrock, though, he is going to be able to have that overtake boost mode, because he was within a second of the car ahead at the overtake line. As Wojciech Stag is going to go ahead and make a new fast lap, a 106.094, new fastest lap here in the Grand Prix. Dennis Langrock now is going to try to press on and try to maybe re-grab the spot away from Claudio Diaz. And you can just see now that he just doesn't quite have the tire grip compared to Claudio. Claudio on those harder tires, they will last longer. So himself, Lawrence Lawyers, and it is going to be Daniel Kuehler, who all started on those hard tires. They will go quite the distance into this one, and I think they're probably more likely to make the one-stop potentially work, as Dennis Langrock is not going to fight anymore. He's going to come on into the pits to go ahead and throw out a fresh set of rubber. Jeremy Gallagher right behind him, and Diego Ferrer also right behind as well. So everybody who did start the race on the mediums has now made their stop. The only drivers who have not made a stop in this Grand Prix are the drivers who started on the hards.
They are indeed those drivers that started on the hard compound tyres are going to start to think about their strategies now, and we'll see where they are going to stack up. Of course, they're going to have those engineers in the cars. They do at this high level in F2, in F3 even, as well. It looked like we were in F2 earlier, but they are going to be having to consider every single little thing as they go through this race, and every single tenth that they could gain and every single tenth that they're going to try to avoid losing. Going to be really close towards the end of this race, I think, between a lot of drivers, and no less than Cloud and Oliver Knott are at the moment. I think we're going to get somebody with a photo finish in this race, if you ask me, and so we'll have to wait and see whether that's going to happen, as now we're on 17 of 36. We're almost halfway through this race, and at the moment we're going to see a very, very good fight between quite a few of the drivers. This is going to be the latest fight. Cloud and Oliver Knott, even Lucas Beisner just waiting in behind them. He's going to start to get caught in traffic, I think, and this is where you really don't want to be as a driver, when you've made that pit stop, made that undercut to gamble, and then you get caught, and then you get yourself caught behind some traffic.
As I think what we say in the endurance racing realm, as oh, that's a bit of contact. Very slight little nudge there from Lucas Beisner on the Cloud. Something that we use a lot when it comes to multi-class endurance racing is that traffic giveth and traffic can taketh away. And traffic really just becomes a make or break situation in these races, especially with the pit stop offset that we often see with these split strategy kind of races. And while everybody's in the same class, everybody is in the same car, there's no hypercars versus GT3s or anything of the sort. It does feel like that though sometimes, as Max van der Geest has left the session and he is out. He is called it in the pit lane. And Lucas Beisner, while that was happening, Beisner gets ahead of Cloud. So good battles just happening all throughout the racetrack. And that is going to be Beisner back up into 10th. There's still quite a few drivers who do have to pit. And he will really try to make the good charge here as Daniel Keeler, a bit further forward, is going to try to get onto one of the other drivers who started on that hard tire with Lauren Lowers trying to make a move. Jeremy Gallonier, though, on a fresh set of rubber, does set the fast lap. And oh, what has happened here? The V-Carb has just pumped the brakes.
Well, that's Max van der Geest, who's retired from the session, who's going to be right in the middle of the track, and that's really, really spiced up this pack with Wojtek Steg now leading and Rafael Kunc in 4th, Valentino Labella in 5th, and that has really thrown something into contention. I've never seen that before where the driver is completely solid on track. They usually do come out of the pits, but they ghost. But this has had a massive effect. 3 wide in behind Daniel Coy. This might become 2 by 2 as Giovanni Kennis has a look to try to make a move forward. In the end, not able to do so. Coy, though, is going to be squeezed to the inside. Knott and Kennis are going to go side by side with Coy, and they're both going to get their way through. Side by side between those two now as they head down towards the penultimate and then the final corners. As off of the road is going to go Lawrence Lowers. His day goes from bad to worse. He tried to recover himself by going long. That's not going to work. Alongside each other into the final corner and out of it are going to go Coyer and Beisner is going to get through. He's up into 8th place, but what a dramatic lap that was.
And speeding in the pit lane for Lauren Lawyers as well, as that's their day done and dusted. So we've lost 3 drivers here today. We've lost a McLaren, a V-Carb, and a Ferrari. Unfortunate scenes here, but yeah, like you said, Joseph, I mean, that one moment really just shook up the entire race. And I mean, it probably threw a lot of drivers off. There's probably a few less than happy drivers. I could probably make a pretty solid guess on it. If they're working with an engineer, they probably already complained to the engineer like, well, why did that V-Carb just show up in the middle of the road? I mean, I'm sure there's probably also a few screams of terror. I know I'd definitely be in that ballpark, as Claudio Diaz finally does make his way into the pits. The McLaren of Rafael Kuznic is going to go ahead and try to get past the Red Bull of Wojtek Steg, as they are going to go now, try to find something. The Williams of Valentino Labella does shake for a move coming into turn 1, but ultimately a bit too far back to really make that one stick. Even a Skrig, though, who did pit very early on, he's on 11 lap old tires as the Ferrari of Oliver Knott's going to try to go through the move. Will he get it or will he not? He will get the move. A little bit of contact between himself and Labella. But the Veloce Academy driver up into 4th position now. And he's got some pretty good tires to do it, as Labella and Cloud are going to continue, and Scott Holmes will be the next retiree of the race.
It will indeed. Scott Holmes out of the race, unfortunately, as we're going to get side by side. Valentino Labella and Cloud are going to be swapping, and Cloud is going to make his way up. Valentino may well drop in other places. Noah Ratzer briefly had a look. The Audi's basically come from nowhere in this race and now finds himself in front of his teammate because the undercut that he took, not quite as aggressive and undercut as what was done by Labella. However, we will see them fighting for position on track right now. It's a good opportunity to take a look at these gaps and take a look at the fact that Ivan Skrig holds that lead at the top of the order. Do you think he's going to try to go all the way and stay on that one-stop strategy, knowing that it's probably not going to work out, but he currently is going to lead?
I mean, it's possible, right? I mean, we have seen crazier things here this season. I mean, if he is able to pull this tire off, then I mean that'll be Sergio Perez 2021 levels of tire preservation. I mean, he's losing a little bit though, but I feel like one of the big things that is going to help him out here is that Wojciech Steg and Rafael Kuznic are going to battle it out. If those two battle it out, then that's going to give Ivan Skrig a really good shot to kind of run away here. Because the more these two battle, the more of a space is going to leave for Ivan. Because Ivan currently has a 1.6 second lead. But as the McLaren and the Red Bull battle, if they do decide to battle it out here for a position, then that's going to cost them a lot of time. That's going to go right back into Ivan's favor. Talking about one Alpine to another. The pole setter of Giovanni Kennis is going to try to make the move up the inside. Going to go deep on their brakes. He's going to go ahead and try to fight Oliver Knott. It is Alpine and Ferrari scrapping it out for that P4 spot. And this is for, I mean, if Ivan pits, it's going to be for a net podium. Giovanni Kennis now trying. He will try to run the Ferrari wide. It's hard racing, but it is clean racing as they continue to just duke it out. Rafael now trying to get one onto Wojciech. And once again, just if these guys keep battling, then Ivan will get a bit of a gap, but right now that is not happening, and Alpine now pulling off into the pits.
Yeah,
But
into the pit lane.
I will say this.
Go on.
As he goes into the pits, he will have some really clean tires to go ahead and make his push.
Oh yeah, absolutely will. He'll have the best tyres on the grid really at this point in the race, especially because not many other drivers are going to be going for that two-stop strategy. A lot of them are half committed to the one and half committed to the two as well, but then they decided to go all for that one stop. So Ivan Skrig committing early has kind of shot himself in the foot. However, it may well work out, so he may well have played a stroke of absolute genius. We'll wait and see what is going to be the fate of him at the moment as he comes out in 15th place. As there was really, really good fighting further up in the order. It was Oliver Knott and Giovanni Kennis we were watching on with, as well as Dennis Langrock and Valentino Labella. Noah Ratzer as well involved in that fight, and in the end it was going to be Valentino Labella who ended up coming out on top of Ratzer, with Dennis Langrock coming out on top of that group. So found himself very, very, very good, well positioned indeed. So these drivers in a very good place to go at it and scrap, and it's not long left to go in this race now. We've only got the 12 laps, so time has absolutely flown by for them in terms of making that strategy work. They're going to have to start to push a little bit more. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed to see how they competed out late on, as Daniel Coyer, 3-second time penalty. Victor Garcia has a similar one. Lawrence Lowers has left the session, but he's out of the race, so it doesn't matter all too much. So this is going to get very, very nervy towards the end and the latter stages of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of those track limit violations coming through. I mean, it's a very tricky track and very, very, very easy to get those track limits, because a lot of these corners, you take them very fast and you carry so much momentum into the corners, as Oliver Knott is going to fight with the McLaren of Rafael Kuzic, as they're going to fight out, trying to find something, trying to fight for the podium. And Rafael on the inside, a big snap there from Oliver Knott. And that's not what he would have wanted here. A big snap coming through turn 8. And that's going to drop him down behind the Audi of Dennis Langrock. So very unfortunate there, as Noah Razda going to go ahead and grab a 3-second time penalty as well. Here's a move for the lead. It is going to be Giovanni Kennis back into the lead in the Alpine. And Rafael, though, he is hot on the Red Bull's heels in that McLaren. And everything is kicking off as we are closing in on the final 10 laps.
Yeah, there was even a brief 3-wide moment between these drivers, and it's going to be side by side as there's a big lock-up from Wojciech Steg to try to stay ahead. He's done so in the end. I think he might have been in two minds whether he was going to attack Kennis or whether he was going to hold on to position. In the end, he held on to position, but I don't know whether he meant to do that or whether that was just a happy accident. Lucas Beisner fighting with Rafael Kunc, and he's on the inside. Kunc has a bit of contact between himself and Beisner, but in the end Beisner was able to make his way through and jump up that position which Kunc was trying to fight for, but in the end it did not quite work out for him, and they will keep fighting it out there on the road right now. They will keep duking it out there for the final 10 laps, and you feel as though it's going to be every single one of these final 10 laps where they are going to have that fight. Giovanni Kennis leads us on to it. Wojciech Steg in second, Lucas Beisner in third, Cloud now in fourth, having overtaken Dennis Langrock into Rafael Kunc and Dennis Langrock into that 5th place. Dennis Langrock finds himself down in 6th. So plenty of opportunities for these drivers to make moves and jump further up, but they are starting to dwindle now, so the pressure is very much on.
Dennis Langrock trying, and you can just see the extreme defense there for Rafael Kunc as he's going to go through, and Giovanni Kennis was fighting side by side. He's still side by side with the Red Bull of Wojciech Steg. As now it's about to go 3 wide, coming down into turn 4. Lucas Beisner really on the ball here. Honestly, he might be the quickest car on track at the moment. Wojciech Steg now does drop a spot. He will have the inside line compared to the Alpine, and that's the tap and a spin for the pole sitter. The pole sitter's been tapped around, and that is disaster for Giovanni Kennis. Disaster, and I think he might have just used that reset the track right there. Oh, that is heartbreak for the Alpine. He was having such a good run, but I mean, when you're fighting, when the heat of battle intensifies, sometimes things get a little too hot and you might just get spun. It's unfortunate. Definitely will be under review by the stewards, but now that actually promotes Cloud, one of the Veloce Academy drivers, up into a podium spot here, as he will try to chase down Lucas Beisner. And Beisner is actually up into 2nd place. He started in 4th, but Wojciech Steg started 9 positions down, and now he's in the lead. But you do have the V-Carb battling it out, battle of the Red Bulls here tonight.
We really do have them fighting it out there, and we've got a swap for the race lead as Lucas Beisner looks at the inside. Wojciech Steg on the outside. This has really lit up the battle at the top as Dennis Langrock gets through on Cloud as well. There may well be a bit more of a fight back for that 3rd position, but not in the end. Cloud actually on the exit will make it a good old fight, but in the end will not be able to jump through, and Oliver not ready to challenge. Is going to be on the inside line of Cloud, going up for 4th place. This is a really good fight towards the end of this race, and Not is going to be in 4th place with Dennis Langrock 3rd. Having a nosy to the inside is going to be Cloud to maybe try to make that position back up on the Ferrari. No doing just yet. The top 8 all within about 5 tenths or less in front. To the driver in front, even if I can speak. The top 11 even able to do the same thing. So this is really, really close racing. This is exactly what we want to see. And we've had no safety car so far. So it has very much been a great demonstration of what these drivers can do without the interruptions, because we know that cautions breed cautions, really, and we haven't had any cautions to speak about tonight, apart from the obvious with Max van der Geest that initially started this battle. Claudio Diaz with his 8-lap-old medium tyres is going to be able to jump up into 6th place through on Rafael Kunc, but I think this is a fight that Kunc is going to want to have back. Maybe if it's not down in this corner, it's next lap, but he has a look around the outside of this corner. It'll be turn 4 where he gets very close, and Diaz is going to slam the door. Opens it up for Galonier around the outside, who's going to try to sweep through on the McLaren, but I think Rafael Kunc has just about got enough space to stay ahead, has just about got enough pace to stay ahead. He's just about got himself enough ahead to stay ahead.
He does need to be a little bit careful, though, because if he gets too aggressive on the defense, he might find himself over those white lines, and he might even find himself with a penalty. So he's got to be really careful. Although, with that being said, after doing some investigative journalism, Rafael has no track limit warnings to speak of. So, I mean, he does have at least those that, I mean, ideally you wouldn't want to use, but he might be able to use them if absolutely necessary, as Jeremy Gallinier gonna try to make a move in the inside, deep on the brakes, and from downtown, the silver arrow flies perfectly true, gets the bullseye, and is up into 7th. That was audacious, but the audacity has rewarded him with a position, and even then, he is on slightly better tires, 2-lap fresher hards compared to the McLaren behind, and now his sights are going to be set on trying to close in to Claudio Diaz, but Claudio has got fresher mediums, so I mean that's going to be a difficult task. As Lucas Beisner, once he got into the lead of the race, he has really just turned on the afterburners and let that V-carb just fly. Already got probably one of the biggest gaps for the lead that we've seen since the pit stops here, Joseph.
He really has. He's given himself a great opportunity as Lucas Beisner at the top of this order to close that gap at the top of the standings. And give himself the best chance to fight for a race victory, and this will be very, very, very good indeed for Lucas Bison, who is a very, very consistent challenger and will want to be fighting it out there on the track right now. Will want to be fighting it out there for this PCF3 title, and at the moment, as it stands, as we look at the Drivers' Championship, he will actually be in the lead, so maybe he doesn't want to close that gap at all. He's got 1 second gap to Wojtek Steg in behind his Cloud, and Claudio Diaz is going to go side by side. It's Cloud versus Cloud, and in the end, it's going to be Cloud Diaz that's going to come out on top. But yeah, Lucas Bison 1 point ahead at the top of the table. That's going to extend today because second place, Rafael Kunch. Third, Tope. Tope's not here. Kunch is down in 8th place, so that gap's going to build up, and it's going to build up regardless because he is going to lead the race. Cloud looking at Claudio Diaz, not quite making the move just yet on the Aston Martin. Will be continuing to have a look at down the main straight, and Cloud will want to jump into the top 5, jump into the top 4, maybe even sit on the podium for what will be the 3rd time this season and the 3rd time in a row as well. He took 3rd in China, he took 3rd in Belgium, and he's now going to be 3 places off, taking 3rd in Austria.
And it's going to be really tight. Speaking of podium spots here, Dennis Langrock right on the gearbox of the Red Bull. The Red Bull has a little bit of a stutter, and there's contact, and Langrock is off into the grass. Oliver Knott will jump back up into the podium spots, and things are getting really dicey here as we're on the final 5 laps of the Austrian Grand Prix. Oliver Knott, he will take advantage. He'll say thank you very much, and now he's going to go prancing after the Red Bull in that Scarlet Ferrari. But now, because of the battling, Lucas has crucially got himself in over a second ahead, and Wojtek is losing tenths and tenths, almost 2 seconds just at the end of the sector, as Oliver Knott did give a bit of a look. He took a peek, tried to find a move. He will have some good opportunities here. He will have the boost, he will have the speed, but he decides that he won't try to make the move into turn 1. Now, Wojtek will not have that overtake boost. He won't have the blue boost available to him. So he's going to be at a slight battery disadvantage to the Ferrari. Oliver not wanting to give up here. We'll try to go around the outside. Try to maybe think about the switchback. A little bit of contact between the Ferrari and the Red Bull. And he's going to have such a strong slipstream now coming into the run into turn 4. Oliver Knott will have the inside line. He will have the brakes, and he will have the move. He's also got 2 lap pressure tires compared to the Red Bull. And with 4 laps to go, everything's kicking off. 3 wide now, coming down into turn 7. That backs up really quickly, but we were 3 wide there for a split second. These drivers are leaving nothing to chance here, Joseph.
No, they certainly aren't, and we're going to see them fighting it out. Cloud looking to the inside of Wojtek Steg into the final corner. No doing just yet. Didn't want to make his way through. Rafael Kunch and Jeremy Galonier further back are going to want to fight with Claudio Diaz, but no fighting out there at the moment. No doing just for these moves right now. Galonier and Kunch very close to each other. Claudio Diaz's tyres are going to be screaming out those mediums at the moment, and that's really not going to be ideal for the Aston Martin. Cloud in the Mercedes is going to want to make the move, and maybe Jeremy Galonier has a look to one. Maybe Rafael Kunch also wants to make a move on Galonier. Looks to the outside line of 3. Will put the power down to the exit of the corner. This gives him a good chance to really close in, but he hasn't quite closed in enough. Looks to the outside of the Mercedes down towards turn number 4. Can he be able to squeak his way through? The answer for now is no.
I mean, he's got a good amount of pace compared to Jeremy Galonier as they continue to just fight their way through, as we are about to get ready to begin the penultimate lap here of the Austrian Grand Prix. And things have really got spicy here right at the end, as drivers are just trying to maximize their points results here. We have lost 4 drivers so today. We are down to 16, and it is the penultimate lap here of the Austrian Grand Prix here at PSGL PCF3, as Claudio Diaz is going to go ahead and try to fight his way through. He's going to go ahead and just reel it on in. He's going to try to reel in the Mercedes of Cloud. Claudio versus Cloud now. Bit of a adjustment there for Wojtek, as he will continue to try to find something back on Dennis Langrock. And Langrock getting real close to the back of the Ferrari. The Audi does have 1 lap fresher tires compared to the Veloce Academy Ferrari driver of Oliver Knott. But it may not even come to pass at the end. We might not see a move here. Dennis Langrock gonna give it everything now as he will try to fight for a second. But up in the front as we get ready to start our final lap of the Austrian Grand Prix, Lucas Bisner, he's been all business here tonight.
He certainly has. Lucas Bison has been incredible, but who's going to join him on the podium and where are they going to be? We will see as they head down towards turn number 1. Oliver Knott is going to be ahead of Dennis Langrock for the time being. He's not going to be able to just jump through just yet, and maybe on the exit of turn 1, Langrock is going to try to take that chance. Knott tries to squeeze the German as far to the inside as he can, but Langrock makes himself some space and will be on the inside, but a big lookup from him is going to mean that Oliver Knott still is able to keep that tyre in. Onto the exit of turn 3, they head down the hill towards turn 4, and we're going to be seeing Redmers out of the race, but still side by side between these two. Who's picked the inside? It's going to be Langrock, who once again is going to brake a little bit too late into the corner and get that lock up, get that smoke coming from his tyre, but that's actually going to work in his favour because he's able to just pick up that place. Oliver Knott's going to go round. That is a huge shame right at the very end for the Ferrari, who comes back out and comes back into the race fighting for the top 10. Contact right behind him. Steg and Ivan Skreek having a scrap. Lucas Bison has not seen any of that. He comes to the line to take the victory here in Austria for round 5. Second place will be Dennis Langrock in the end after contact late on with the Ferrari of Oliver Knott. Third will be Claudio Diaz, who holds on to those mediums for long enough, and then it's a 4-5 for the Mercedes outfit, but that was a dramatic final lap.
It was all nice and dandy until that final sector. We just saw every bit of carnage just happen there, and I mean, that's what you get when you have a lot of very, very quick drivers, all just trying to maximize their points and just try to do whatever they can to really just fight for every single point. Every point is going to matter in this championship as the podium celebrations will go live. It was a very strong drive there for Lucas Beisner as he will take victory here in, I almost said Germany, I was looking at the German flag, here in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. Very well driven race from him.
Very well driven race for him, and we will head through the drivers in their full order. It's Lucas Beisner to take the victory with Dennis Langrock in P2, with the two Germans taking 1-2 in Austria. Claudio Diaz in third place. The Spaniard had a very good race on that alternative strategy with Jeremy Gallonier fastest lap and fourth. Cloud in fifth with Rafael Kunch in sixth. Oliver Knott, Wojtek Steg, Ivan Skreek and Jovano Kennis. The two Alpines round out the top 10. Then it's Ferrer, Ratzer, Koya, Labella, and then Garcia and Redmers retired on the final lap. Holmes, Lowers, Van der Geest and Takubi are DNFs. But that's going to bring to a close the 5th round of the PSGL season here for what was a very, very good Austrian Grand Prix indeed. It certainly looked as though it was going to be one of those races that kind of went out in a whimper. But then we got the drama on the final lap.
Oh yeah, Austria in general. I mean, tonight in particular, it really just went out in a blaze of chaos. Blaze of glory for some, but blaze of chaos definitely was a good way to kind of describe the end of this one. Good action though all the way throughout. It's why it's probably my favorite track on the calendar to really commentate for. And that's saying something because we have some really good tracks coming up here this season. I mean, the rest of the calendar just looks absolutely stacked here, Joseph.
Oh, it certainly does. We are back, of course, from our 2 break weeks in a row because there was a cancelled race for F3 in Madrid. But Austria for round 5, then Imola, Las Vegas, Mexico, Brazil, Bahrain and Texas. We're going to first have just the one more race in Europe for the season, which is surprising considering it's considered a very European-based sport. Las Vegas then for round 7 is going to be a very, very long straight indeed, similar to Imola really. And, well, I didn't mean to rhyme it, I'm a poet and I just didn't know it. Mexico for round 8, and then Brazil, can't think of a rhyme between those two countries, but we'll certainly be heading to the Americas for 7, 8 and 9 before we head to Asia for round number 10 of the season, the Bahrain Grand Prix that was never in real life. And then we'll be having Texas as our season finale. And Texas is always a really interesting season finale. I think it's not one I've seen before, and it's one that I'm very excited for.
The Circuit of the Americas is such a good track. You do have a little bit of everything. You have very technical corners. You do have some massive sweeping corners as well, but you also have that massive Lone Star straight just right on the exit of turn 12. You can get some really good overtaking opportunities there as well. And every single race that I've seen here, both in real life and in the sim, even in motorcycles, it's been a fantastic venue. And another quick little fun fact, I think in September, they're opening up a theme park called Codaland.
The more you know. The more you know. That would be the world's... I assume it's a racing-related one. That would be the world's second racing-related one after the Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi. Either way, no idea. And that's definitely something I'm going to research because I'm going to apparently. Definitely have a look at that one. But that was a very, very good race indeed. It doesn't look as though we're going to get anybody joining us in the interview room, unfortunately. So we will watch... We will bring this broadcast to a close. Who will be your driver of the day?
Ooh, I mean, I got to give it to our race winner because he was always like, he always had that essence of like, okay, I have all the pace in the world. I am driving a rocket ship. That is pretty much the mentality he had all race long. And I mean, he was always pressuring somebody in that race.
He always was, but I mean, at the same time, it's hard to make it look like a rocket ship in equal cars, and you're absolutely right, that's what he did today. I'm going to go for a different person. I'm going to go for Claudio Diaz. The way he held on to those mediums at the end when everybody else had better tyres, frankly, was really, really impressive, just to go for somebody a little bit different. But that is going to be it for our broadcast here from ourselves here at PCF3. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us, and until next time, it is goodbye.